It's hard to describe all the changes in my life over the past few years. All my life had been abuse of all sorts. It was spiritual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, substance abuse, even neglect. But the last few years, God has brought me on this journey. Really, it's been Him resurrecting a life that should have been darkness. My mother was a drug addict and an alcoholic. My father was an addict as well. Really, most people in my whole family struggle with addiction of some sort. And it was hard. I remember one time I was 8 years old. My brother and I were living with a mom, and we had just been in a car accident a few weeks before this, and my mom really wanted to take us to a pool, and she wanted to load us up in the back of this pickup truck and drive us, and I could tell she was high. And I had no desire to get, I knew it was dangerous to get in the back of this truck, so I fought her. So I was fighting and crying, and finally my mom gave up, and she just left me. She locked me out of the house and drove away. I remember laying in the middle of the street and crying and not understanding and just feeling so alone. When I was 11 years old, the state was finally called in, and they saw the conditions that my brother and I were living in. They decided that they needed to take us out for our safety. And they placed us in group homes together, separately, in foster homes together and separately. And all were very hard. One specific home, though, I remember they had us sleeping on a porch. We didn't have a room. When the state would come in to check in on us, they would dress up a room, make it look like we had a place to stay. But really, we were sleeping on a porch, and they would take their kids out to eat on the money that they got from the government, and then they would leave us just bread on the table. In the midst of all this chaos, there was this family, and the mother was my elementary music teacher. So they knew me, they knew my story, and they cared about me. So at 13, God put it on their hearts to be licensed as foster parents so that they could take me in. And they did. They brought me into their home. They provided for me, cared for me. They even invited me to their church, plugged me into their worship team. And no one had done this. No one had reached out in the midst of my darkness. No one had extended their hand and showed me that there could be more. And then at age 21, they said that we were a family for most of our lives, that we should make it official. So at age 21, they adopted me, and I became McGivens. So you think this would have been the start of this new, brighter, better life for me. But unfortunately, everything that I had seen up to this point was that this isn't going to last. That this sort of good life, these good things weren't meant for me. So in order to prepare myself to shield my heart from this inevitable crash that I saw coming, I ran. I turned away, I rebelled, and I fell into substance abuse. And I was living this dual life where I was leading worship on Sundays and I was partying at night and on weekends. And I remember leading worship this one Sunday morning, and I pulled away from the mic, and I was singing this song, pulled away from the mic, and the people were just singing so loudly. And I remember God said, I don't need you. My people are going to worship me whether you do or not. And so I felt like God was asking me to make a choice. And so I chose Him. Since that decision, it really has been a journey, and not always easy. I still have family and addiction in that lifestyle, in prison, but God saved me from that. He took what could have been just darkness, and He brought it into light. And He took this death, and He gave it new life. He literally resurrected my life. If He was going to give up on me, He would have done it by now. But He hasn't. He won't. My life is proof that God never gives up.
The head that once was crowned with thorns is crowned with glory now. The Savior knelt to wash our feet. Now at His feet we bow. The one who wore our sin and shame, now robed in majesty, the radiance of perfect love now shines for all to see. Your name is victory, and all praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory, and all praise will rise to Christ our King. The fear that held us now gives way to Him who is our peace. His final breath upon the cross is now alive in me. And your name is victory, and all praise will rise to Christ our King. Your name is victory, and all praise will rise to Christ our King. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. By your Spirit I will rise from the ashes of defeat. The resurrected King is resurrecting me. In your name I come alive to declare your victory. And the resurrected King is resurrecting me. Oh, you're resurrecting me. The tomb where soldiers washed in pain was borrowed for 3 days. His body there would not remain, for our God has robbed us.